Nobody wants them here except sort of marginally the king who wants to see his grandchildren. Not a single person in Britain apart from the king.
6 years ago, Harry walked away from Buckingham Palace believing Britain would one day wish he had stayed. This week, Britain gave him an answer that was impossible to ignore. Thousands of people sent one loud and unmistakable message, and what happened behind the palace walls afterward made the whole situation even more surprising. Think about everything that has happened over the last 6 years. There were the TV interviews, the documentaries, a book that reportedly left even members of his own family uncomfortable, public claims of racism aimed at the royal family after a period of national mourning, and later a lifestyle brand selling raspberry jam for around $40 a jar.
They don't trust them, period. They just don't trust them. I mean, Harry to them is like Brooklyn Beckham is to the Beckham.
Now they were back outside Buckingham Palace. But what were they expecting? A huge celebration? Warm hugs? A welcome like nothing had ever happened? Instead, they faced a very different reaction. Most people probably saw this coming the moment they sat together in that California garden with Oprah leaning in and chose to tell America about serious family disputes on international television. Plenty of viewers turned to the person next to them and said, "Watch, they will run out of road eventually, and when they do, they will be back." 6 years later, that prediction suddenly seemed much closer to reality.
Well, the word is same treatment this time. If they do get this audience with the king, they're going to be strip searched, not strip shirts. They're going to be searched, bodies searched, and they're not going to be allowed to take in phones.
They'll have to sign NDAs, probably.
Recording devices. I mean, this is extraordinary, isn't it?
And now here they were. Not because the royal family had invited them back, and not because Britain had been asking for their return. Instead, people said to have close knowledge of palace events were openly suggesting that difficult situations can push people into difficult decisions. Inside Buckingham Palace, nobody was waiting with open arms. Nobody. But before looking at what happened outside in the streets, it is important to understand what was already happening behind those palace doors, because this visit did not come out of nowhere. There were private talks, there were strict conditions, and there were 2 senior royals who made sure Harry and Meghan knew exactly where they stood before they even thought about packing their bags. The first was Camilla. No matter how people feel about her, and opinions are definitely mixed, one thing has stayed consistent. She reportedly does not trust them, not even a little, and she has never tried to hide that. When Harry made his unexpected trip to London after news of the king's cancer diagnosis, Camilla reportedly had him enter through the main security entrance at Clarence House instead of the private entrance normally used by close family members. He went through the security checks like any other visitor. She also remained present throughout the entire meeting.
The whole world knows this attempt at a reconciliation, in quotation marks, with the royal family is a desperate attempt by a couple that has failed in an epic, humiliating fashion.
According to people described as being close to palace matters, the concern was simple. They believed trust had been seriously damaged, and that feeling had not changed. Then there is William. He has not released public statements, sat down for interviews, or commented on this visit at all, and that silence speaks for itself. Once the trip became known, William quietly arranged for Catherine and the children to be away from Windsor. They simply were not there. Think about what that could suggest. This no longer looks like a public argument. Arguments usually involve both sides continuing to engage. Instead, William has appeared to step back completely.
So when Harry comes back, particularly with his family, it's just one long right royal snub from the rest of the royals, and that's embarrassing to say the least.
Reports have often described him as having moved on rather than continuing the conflict. For someone who has frequently spoken about wanting recognition and understanding, that kind of silence could be especially difficult to face. But what happened next reportedly tested the patience of even those trying to stay neutral. Meghan was said to have requested the use of a royal helicopter for travel to Birmingham in connection with the Invictus Games. The request drew attention because, according to various reports, the Invictus Games have already been facing ongoing public discussion about its future direction and leadership. The palace reportedly declined the request. After that, attention reportedly shifted to Windsor, not just any property, but the estate closely associated with William and Catherine, where they are raising their family. That request was also reportedly rejected. Instead, the palace was said to have offered Sandringham, which many believed had been the expected option all along. But this is where the story takes another turn, because reports suggested Meghan was especially determined to avoid Sandringham, and people close to the situation claimed it was about much more than the location itself.
Nobody wants them here except sort of marginally the king who wants to see his grandchildren. Not a single person in Britain apart from the king wants them anywhere near this country. It's going to be humiliating for them. They are going to get the frosty reception from hell, aren't they?
Reports suggest that one reason Sandringham became such a talking point was because Prince Andrew has been living at Marsh Farm on the estate. Photographers are often seen watching the area, ready to capture every public appearance. It meant two of the most talked about figures connected to the royal family could end up linked to the same location, with cameras already waiting outside. According to reports, Meghan continued to push for Windsor almost until the very last moment, and many people have offered their own theories about why. She has publicly said that royal life felt overwhelming and restrictive, including during her interview with Oprah that was watched by millions around the world. At the same time, reports claimed there was interest in using royal transport for the visit. To many royal watchers, those details seemed difficult to ignore and sparked even more debate. It's worth saying something here, because many people seem to feel the same way. For a long-time royal followers, this is not really about hating Harry. Many remember watching him as a young boy walking behind his mother's coffin, and that image has stayed with them for years. What some people describe instead is disappointment, not the kind that comes from anger, but the kind that lingers because expectations were once so much higher. And even with those feelings, people have continued to watch every new chapter unfold.
During the week, Piers Morgan shared a comparison that quickly grabbed attention. He said Harry's place within the royal family now reminds him of Brooklyn Beckham's relationship with the Beckham family. His argument was that through a series of public decisions and personal choices, Harry had become someone the family no longer appeared to depend on in the way they once did.
Is ever intended to hurt my family, but it does give a full picture of the situation as we were growing up, and also squashes this idea that somehow my wife was the one that destroyed the relationship between these two brothers.
Piers Morgan said his comments were based on conversations with people described as being close to Camilla, close to Princess Beatrice, and others familiar with palace affairs. According to him, one word kept coming up again and again: weariness. Not outrage, not fury, just weariness. He also claimed that some people around the palace had used the word desperate when discussing Meghan, suggesting they believed pressure can sometimes lead people to make unpredictable decisions. According to critics, this visit was never mainly about repairing family relationships. They argue it was about rebuilding a public image and strengthening a brand that still benefits from royal connections. With changing business partnerships and growing questions about future projects, many believe the timing was far from random. In their view, this was less about reconciliation and more about rebuilding momentum. A lot of people following this story say they saw this coming years ago. They said it when Harry and Meghan stepped away from royal duties. They said it when the Netflix deal was announced. They said it after the Spotify partnership ended. They even said it when the lifestyle products launched. Whether people agreed or disagreed, many felt the same pattern kept repeating. Supporters of the royal family argue that palace insiders are now expressing concerns that sound very similar to what royal watchers had been saying for years. Another story from this week also caught attention, although it did not receive nearly as much discussion. Reports announced that Harry had made a £1.1 million donation to a children's charity, and many headlines described it as a personal act of generosity. When asked about it, the BBC initially stated that it was a personal donation from Harry himself. That version of events quickly spread across news reports. Then another detail entered the conversation. Public records from the Charity Commission reportedly listed the source of the donation several months earlier. According to those records, the funding came from an outside foundation rather than directly from Harry's personal finances. After a journalist highlighted those documents and asked the BBC about the difference, the broadcaster acknowledged that its earlier confirmation was not accurate. The situation immediately raised fresh questions about how the information had been verified before it was reported. The size of the donation also became part of the public discussion. Some commentators questioned why the figure was set at £1.1 million instead of a round number. They argued that once converted into other major currencies, the amount would still be reported as more than 1 million, creating a consistent headline across countries, including the United States, Canada, Australia, and parts of Europe. Critics suggested that this made for a powerful headline at a time when positive publicity ahead of a UK visit could be especially valuable, while others viewed the donation itself as the more important story. Meanwhile, Meghan's lifestyle brand continued to face heavy public scrutiny. After Netflix ended its involvement, reports circulated claiming that some of the remaining products were given to staff. Critics quickly used that story to question how much confidence the company still had in the brand. Her cooking show also became a major talking point after reports noted that it ranked well below many other titles on Netflix, including Suits, the series that first made her widely known before she married into the royal family. Those comparisons spread fast and kept the conversation going. But even those headlines were overshadowed by another claim that surfaced this week. Reports began circulating about an alleged private photograph of Queen Elizabeth II with Lilibet during the Queen's final months, supposedly taken at a birthday gathering. Supporters of the claim described it as a warm family moment between a great-grandmother and her great-granddaughter. It certainly caught people's attention. However, many royal commentators immediately questioned that account. During the Queen's final months, numerous reports suggested she was extremely careful about protecting her privacy and controlling what information or images left royal residences. Some reports even claimed that extra precautions were taken during communications involving Harry and Meghan because trust had become strained. Those reports have been widely discussed over the years, although not every detail has been independently confirmed. Because of that, many people found the reported photograph difficult to believe. Some commentators argued that if such an image really existed and permission had been given to take it, it likely would have become public long ago. Others pointed out that members of the Queen's staff had previously disputed reports that any such official photo session had taken place. As a result, the story remains the subject of debate rather than an established fact.
Then the conversation shifted to someone who is rarely mentioned whenever talk of family reconciliation begins. His name is Thomas Markle. He is now an elderly man who has dealt with serious health problems and lives in Mexico, only a relatively short distance from Montecito, California. For some critics, his situation raises difficult questions about family relationships and forgiveness, making the wider public discussion about family values even more complicated. Thomas Markle has publicly said that he has never met his grandchildren. There has been no confirmed visit, no publicly known video call, and no meeting that has been shared. He has also never publicly met Harry in person. The man who married his daughter in a wedding watched by millions around the world has, by all public accounts, never sat down with his father-in-law. That detail alone has left many people surprised. Now, think about the contrast being discussed this week. As headlines focus on whether King Charles might have time with Archie and Lilibet during a possible visit, Thomas Markle is following those same stories from his home on television. For many observers, it creates a striking comparison. One grandfather is at the center of worldwide attention, while another has repeatedly spoken about hoping for a chance to see members of his own family. This is also where the conversation becomes more personal for many people. Family relationships are rarely simple, and most people understand how painful distance and long-running disagreements can become. Many viewers bring their own experiences into stories like this. They know what separation can cost over time, and they understand why reconciliation can be so difficult when trust has broken down. Princess Diana is often remembered as someone who placed enormous value on personal connections and being present for the people she loved. That is one reason her legacy continues to resonate with so many. Meanwhile, reports have suggested that the timing of Harry's visit overlaps with the temporary closure of the Diana Memorial, and some commentators have claimed that documentary-related filming may be part of the wider schedule. Those reports have fueled fresh debate, with critics questioning whether such moments should become part of media projects, while supporters may see things very differently. And as those discussions continue, Thomas Markle remains a figure many believe is often left out of conversations about family reconciliation. His situation has become part of the wider debate surrounding this story, adding another emotional layer to an already complicated public discussion. But according to people following events closely, the biggest surprise of this visit was still waiting to unfold, and it was something Harry and Meghan were not expecting at all. Lady Colin Campbell, who has frequently shared commentary about the royal family over the years, made a remark this week that sparked plenty of discussion. In her view, this visit was not a victory for Harry and Meghan, but a sign that circumstances had changed dramatically. Whether people agree with her or not, her comments quickly became part of the wider debate. When many critics looked at the reported outcome of the visit, they argued that it happened largely on palace terms, rather than Harry and Meghan's. According to reports, there was no enhanced security arrangement beyond what had already been decided through the courts. There were no public royal engagements without palace approval. Reports also suggested there was no access to Windsor and no use of a royal helicopter. It has even been claimed that strict security procedures, including handing over phones before certain meetings, remained in place. To supporters of the palace, those details reflected clear boundaries that had not changed. Another point that attracted attention was the reported absence of William from the visit. While Camilla was said to have played a visible role in key meetings, William reportedly chose not to take part. Royal commentators interpreted that in different ways, but many saw it as a sign that relationships within the family remained deeply strained. Some also argued that if requests were made, the final arrangements reflected what the palace was prepared to allow, rather than what visitors may have preferred. Looking ahead, many royal watchers believe the future could bring even greater changes. Some commentators have suggested that when William eventually becomes king, his approach may be very different from his father's. That remains speculation, of course, because only time will reveal how those relationships develop. Still, the possibility has become a major topic of discussion among people who closely follow the royal family. Outside Buckingham Palace, public reactions also became part of the story. Some people offered support, while others expressed strong criticism. For many observers, those moments reflected years of public debate surrounding Harry and Meghan's decisions and their relationship with the royal family. Whatever side people take, it is clear that opinions remain deeply divided, and this story continues to generate worldwide attention. One thing seems certain: this chapter is not the end. New developments, fresh claims, and different perspectives continue to emerge, and the conversation shows no sign of slowing down. Whether you agree with the critics, support Harry and Meghan, or simply enjoy royal news, there will almost certainly be more twists ahead. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with anyone who follows the royal family. I'd also love to hear your thoughts, so leave a comment below and let me know where you think this story goes next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.